All right, it needs an engine, but is an old car worth an engine? Let's talk about it. Welcome back and thanks for being here. My name is Scott, and the official diagnosis confirmed by a shop that I trust is that my daughter's 2015 Launch Edition Golf needs an engine. Compression and leak down testing confirms a major leak in the block. So this is not a problem with a head gasket, a valve, seat, a ring, or anything like that that's minor. So could the engine be rebuilt? Probably. Is it something that we want to tackle? Absolutely not. There is a lot of labor rate involved with a rebuild. Plus, I don't think any mechanic wants to risk finding a problem after it's put back together and reinstalled in the car. So there's a valid argument that the parts and labor to rebuild an engine is similar to the parts and labor to replace the engine with a used engine. Or for a little more, perhaps a lot more, we could even replace the engine, the entire long block, and have a mostly new engine from the manufacturer. At least that used to be the case. I'll explain that in a minute. So is an old Mk7 Golf worth the cost of an engine? Let's consider some options. My daughter's car is almost 8 years old and has over 120,000 miles. And a lot of people would say that it is past the time to dump the car and get something else. And that might have been true as recently as 3 years ago. But is it financially wise at this point, especially with the way the used car prices have escalated and new cars as well? And for reference, her car is paid off, so she has no financial obligations for the car. And she's got some mods that make her happy. And her mods include projector headlights, Bilstein B14 coilovers, APR coil packs, APR Stage 1 tune, a South Bend Stage 3 endurance clutch, Bond Performance front mount intercooler, my old Bond axle back exhaust, and the GTI rear valance to make it all work, some wheels that I had given her, and a window tint. Cosmetically, her car is almost a two-door base model GTI with common GTI mods. Even if she were to call it quits on this car, she'd never recover the cost of her mods when selling the car. In fact, she'd incur costs to return the car to stock so that she could put the upgrade parts on her replacement car. And then she'd be less likely to find a buyer for her old car without it having a functional engine, which would force her to sell the car as a parts car for pennies on the dollar. Part out is a favorite term in online discussion forums, but then she'd have to acquire another car, which would result in a car payment that she doesn't want, and then she'd have to deal with the disposal of whatever's left of her current car. I am trying to teach her the pitfalls of debt. I spent the majority of my adulthood in debt for various things, and I can tell you that not being in debt is way better. She'll be in debt to me for an engine. That's an interest-free loan, but I think that's better than being in debt to a bank for a car. Still, let's do some math. As I record this, Carvana is listing 2015 Golfs with 5-speed manual transmissions for between $15,000 for a car that has 88,000 miles and $17,000 for a car with 66,000 miles. That's all plus tax, title, and license. Now keep in mind that the 2015 Launch Edition Golf with manual transmission retailed for $18,990 in 2015. And odds are very good that those cars sold brand new for $17,000 or even less due to volume discounting at the Volkswagen dealerships. Today, the 7-year-old cars are disappearing very quickly, even at close to new car prices. So the sales market is still very competitive. For example, this 66,000 mile car has a sale pending already. Also, I don't think most 7-year-old cars on the market are as in good a shape as her car. Engine aside, of course. Even the car shown here has chips, dents, and scratches. So surely an engine replacement is more economical and can keep her in an otherwise excellent car. When I rescued her car from the dealership, the Volkswagen dealership down there in North Carolina, Volkswagen's online price for a brand new long block was $5,900 plus tax and shipping, and her local dealer quoted $7,700. And now that's a lot of money, especially when considering the dealer's additional $2,600 labor cost to make the swap. But her car would have a new heart, and she'd control every mile with respect to break-in, warm-ups, and how hard the car is driven. A week later, by the time we got the car home, the online price had escalated to $8,400 plus tax and shipping. And so with that, a new engine was off the table, and the race was on to find a suitable used engine. Given 2022's supply chain shortages, used engine prices were increasing and engines were disappearing faster than my mechanic could source them. He did eventually find a used engine with around 70,000 miles. So his proposal, and we bought it right away to make sure we didn't lose it. His proposal was to acquire the engine and then replace its timing chain, tensioners, and rear main seal. His installed price was quoted as not to exceed $6,500. And that price is a whole lot better than the $8,500 quoted by the Volkswagen dealer for a used engine. And that's not even to mention the potential hassles that the dealer could and probably would present while working on a modified car. I highly doubt that the dealer would include a new timing chain, tensioner, rear main seal in their price either. They would just get the engine and slap it in and be done with it. So while the engine is out, now's a great time to replace some parts that are likely to present a problem later. There's no additional labor cost since everything we're looking at will be removed from her old engine and then installed on the replacement engine as part of the swap. So basically, you take off the old part and then take the new part out of the box and put it on the new engine instead. So for example, we're going to replace the other 3 injectors so that they're matched to the new one that we had installed on cylinder number 3. Her radiator is seeping, so we'll replace it as well. I'm not sure what caused that, but all right. Turbos, those are consumable items, and hers is likely running on borrowed time at this point. And oddly enough, the GTI's IS-20 is less expensive than a 1.8T's IS-12. So that's a sensible replacement that should put a smile on her face. And we all know that the water pump, thermostat, and housing designs were problematic on the early cars. And frankly, I'm amazed that she hasn't had a problem already. So we'll replace those with the most recent revisions. Her USP steel oil pan will also transfer to the replacement engine. Her coil packs and spark plugs are less than a year old, and her clutch is relatively new as well. So they're all good to go, and we'll just swap that onto the replacement engine. Now, some of you are anxious maybe to spend my money and recommend new engine mounts, perhaps a differential upgrade, and who knows what else. And we're not going to go nuts here. There's no evidence that the mounts need to go, and that is especially true now that I'm confident that she'll be driving the car more responsibly, particularly while she's paying off the loan for the engine. So what caused all of this? Could it have been neglect from the previous owner years ago? Maybe, I suppose. But she's had the car for 4 years now, so wouldn't something like that have surfaced before now? Could she have done something on a Spirited Drive? I guess it's possible. A good rip several months ago might have waited to surface, and all while being forgotten about. Well, I did this rip 6-8 months ago, and I don't even remember. So that could happen, I guess. And she'd been letting her friends drive the car, especially while she was recovering from surgery. So could one of them have let it rip? She's confident that they did not abuse her car. Still, nothing drives like a loaner or a rental, and the truth is we'll never know for sure. I guess some encouraging news is that my mechanic did not see obvious signs of engine damage or signs of abuse. Regardless, she understands now why I never loan my car. My GTI will crap out someday, but I want to be certain that it was either normal wear and tear or a result of my own abuse. There's with no room to ponder whether someone else may be to blame. I doubt that her keys will leave her sight anytime soon. The replacement engine is still en route to my mechanic. After all, it is freight, not FedEx, so shipping is a bit slow. The engine replacement will be put into a work queue around other smaller jobs because he's not going to stop taking new work. I'll be sure to keep you posted and updated. I'll share some pictures of the work while it's progressing. So as always, I appreciate you being here. Stick around, subscribe if you want to see how this turns out and the new awakening of her car. I don't know. We'll see how this all goes. Odds are very good that we won't even know that anything is different. I'm told that once the engine is in, it'll look just like it did before we all started. So, all right. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.